The Great Hall of the Galactic Council stretched for miles in every direction. Floating platforms held representatives from 47 different alien species. Each platform glowed with a different color, showing which star system each alien came from. The air buzzed with the sounds of hundreds of different languages being translated by machines. Ambassador Xethar stood on the red platform of the Vortani Empire. His blue skin rippled with satisfaction as he prepared to deliver what he believed would be the final news about humanity. Behind him, a massive screen showed images of burning human colonies and destroyed Earth ships floating dead in space. Fellow council members, Xethar began, his voice echoing through the hall. The human problem will soon be solved forever. Our combined fleets have destroyed 68 of their colonies. In the past 3 cycles, their pathetic military forces cannot even slow us down. Laughter rippled through the hall. The sound came from dozens of different alien throats, creating a strange symphony of mockery. High Counselor Yavin, whose crystalline body sparkled like a diamond, raised her arms for silence. "What news do you bring us today, Ambassador?" she asked. Her voice sounded like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. Xethar smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "The humans have sent another message. They still believe they can threaten us. They claim to have some secret weapon, some hidden fleet that can challenge our mighty armadas." More laughter filled the hall. General Kurthak of the Hegemony Defense Force, a massive creature covered in thick armor plates, pounded his platform with a fist the size of a small boulder. "Let them come," he roared. "We have seen their ships, crude metal boxes powered by primitive fusion engines. Their fastest vessels barely reach half-light speed. Our worst scouts could destroy their best battleships." Yavin nodded, her crystalline form catching the light and sending rainbow patterns across the ceiling. "Indeed, for 300 years, we have ruled this galaxy. Our technology is supreme. Our fleets number in the millions. What could these young humans possibly do against us?" The council had grown lazy over the centuries. Their weapons had not improved into 100 years because they did not need to improve them. Their ships used the same designs their ancestors had built. Why change something that already made them the masters of space? Dr. Yulinara, the council's chief scientist, floated on a small purple platform near the center of the hall. Her species, the ethereals, looked like wisps of smoke given form. She rarely spoke during these meetings, but today she seemed troubled. "Honored counselors," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, "perhaps we should study these humans more carefully. Young species sometimes develop in unexpected ways." Xethar waved a dismissive hand. "Nonsense. We have studied them for 50 years. They are exactly what they appear to be. A primitive species that barely learned to leave their home planet 2 centuries ago. They have no allies, no advanced technology, and no hope." The ambassador activated a hologram in the center of the hall. It showed the solar system, where Earth hung like a small blue marble. Round it, the broken remains of human defense stations drifted silently in space. "Look at their home system," Xethar continued. "We destroyed their outer defenses 3 weeks ago. Their remaining ships hide behind their moon like frightened children. Soon, we will finish what we started and claim their system for the Empire." But far from Earth, on the edge of Council space, something was happening that none of them expected. Sensor operator Kredik sat at his station on monitoring post Delta 7, watching the empty void of space for any signs of human activity. Kredik was young for his species, only 50 years old. His people, the observers, had excellent eyesight and natural talent for detecting unusual patterns. That was why the Council used them to watch the borders of their territory. For the past week, Kredik had been seeing strange readings on his instruments. Nothing obvious, just small distortions in space that appeared and disappeared too quickly to track. His supervisor, Commander Velter, had told him it was probably just cosmic radiation or debris from old battles. But today, the readings were stronger. "Commander," Kredik called out, his voice shaking slightly. "I think you need to see this." Velter was an old warrior who had fought in dozens of battles against rebellious species. His scarred face showed little patience for nervous young operators. "What is it now, Kredik?" he growled. "More phantom readings, sir." The sensors are detecting massive displacement signatures, but they are not using any known method of faster-than-light travel. The patterns are completely different from hyperspace jumps or wormhole transitions. Velter moved to look at the sensor display. What he saw made his blood run cold. The screen showed hundreds, maybe thousands of contacts moving through space, in ways that should not be possible. "How many vessels are we detecting?" he asked. Kredik's hands trembled as he worked the controls. "The computer estimates between 2,000 and 3,000 ships, sir. But that is not the strange part." "What do you mean, sir?" "They are not moving through normal space. According to our instruments, they are traveling through something else. Something our science cannot identify." Velter stared at the display. For several minutes, in all his years of military service, he had never seen anything like this. The signatures appeared to be ships, but they moved without creating the usual energy patterns that came from known propulsion systems. "Send an immediate alert to Council Command," he ordered. "Priority 1. Tell them we have detected an unknown fleet of massive size using unidentified technology." "Yes, sir," Kredik replied, but his voice was filled with fear. "Commander, what do you think they are?" Velter did not answer immediately. He had seen many species rise and fall during his long career. He had watched the Council crush dozens of rebellions with their superior firepower and advanced technology. But something about these readings felt different. "I do not know," he finally admitted. "But I have a feeling we are about to find out." Back in the Council chambers, the meeting was winding down. The representatives were already making plans for the celebration that would follow humanity's final defeat. None of them had received Velter's message yet. The bureaucratic channels of the Council moved slowly, and urgent military reports often took hours to reach the right people. Zexathar was finishing his presentation with confidence. "In conclusion, fellow councilors, the human threat will be eliminated within the next 10 standard days. Their remaining ships are trapped in their home system. Our fleets are moving into position for the final assault. Soon, we will add another victory to the long list of species that dared to challenge the Council's authority." The hall erupted in cheers and applause. Aliens of dozens of different species celebrated what they believed would be an easy victory over a primitive enemy. But Dr. Yulinara remained silent on her platform, a growing sense of unease filling her ethereal form. Something about the situation felt wrong to her scientific mind. In her experience, when a species faced complete extinction, they either surrendered quickly or fought desperately with everything they had. The humans had done neither. They had not begged for mercy, and they had not launched suicidal attacks against overwhelming odds. Instead, they had simply waited. That worried her more than she cared to admit. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Liberty, but the ship around him looked nothing like the crude vessels the Council expected humans to build. The walls seemed to glow with a soft blue light that came from within the metal itself. Control panels floated in the air without any visible support, and the viewing screen showed stars that appeared to bend and twist in impossible ways. Morrison was a tall man with gray hair and calm brown eyes. He had spent the last 15 years of his life working on humanity's greatest secret. While the Council attacked human colonies, the best minds of Earth had been building something that should not exist. "Status report, Commander Hayes," Morrison said to the woman standing beside him. Lisa Hayes was younger than her captain, with short black hair and the focused expression of someone who had spent years studying alien technology. She touched one of the floating control panels, and information appeared in the air before her. "All vessels are holding position in dark matter space, sir. We have 2,643 ships ready for the emergence protocol. The Phantom Fleet is fully operational." Morrison nodded slowly. The Phantom Fleet was humanity's answer to the Council's overwhelming numbers. While alien species had built bigger and more powerful weapons, humans had discovered something far more valuable. They had learned to step outside normal space itself. Dr. Eleanor Rodriguez approached the captain from her science station. She was a small woman with tired eyes, but her mind held knowledge that could change the galaxy forever. For 10 years, she had worked to solve the puzzle of dark matter manipulation. "Captain, The dark matter integration systems are stable across all vessels. We can maintain phase coherence for approximately 6 hours once we enter normal space. After that, we will need to return to dark matter space to recharge. 6 hours will be more than enough time. Morrison replied. Are the crews ready? Rodriguez smiled grimly. Every person on every ship knows what we are fighting for. They have seen the images from the destroyed colonies. They know this is humanity's last chance. Morrison walked to the center of the bridge and pressed a button that connected him to every ship in the Phantom Fleet. His voice carried to thousands of human sailors floating in the strange realm between dimensions. This is Admiral Morrison to all vessels. For 3 years, the Council has hunted our people. They have destroyed our homes and killed our families. They believe we are weak because our technology looks primitive to them. Today, we show them how wrong they are. He paused, looking out at the twisted stars visible through dark matter space. We did not choose this war, but we will finish it. The Council thinks they know what humans are capable of. They have never seen us when we have nothing left to lose. Begin emergence protocol. Show them what impossible looks like. Across the galaxy, Council monitoring stations began detecting something that broke every law of physics they understood. Ships started appearing out of nothing, not arriving through hyperspace tunnels or emerging from wormholes, but simply fading into existence as if reality itself was being rewritten. The human vessels looked unlike anything the Council had ever seen. They were sleek and curved, with hulls that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. They moved without visible engines, turned without creating thrust signatures, and appeared completely invisible to most scanning methods. Admiral Kevin Cole commanded the second Phantom Wing. From his flagship, the UES Retribution, like Morrison, he had devoted his life to this moment. He watched as panic spread through Council communication channels. Sir, called Lieutenant Susan Park from her tactical station. The enemy fleets are trying to target our vessels with plasma cannons. Their computer systems cannot achieve weapon locks. Cole smiled for the first time in months. Of course they cannot lock onto us. How do you target something that exists in 2 different dimensions? At the same time, the human ships moved through space like ghosts. They appeared long enough to attack Council vessels, then faded back into dark matter space before return fire could reach them. To the aliens, it looked like magic. To the humans, it was simply advanced science applied with desperate creativity. On the bridge of the Vortani Command ship Destroyer of Worlds, Admiral Kexton watched his fleet fall apart around him. His massive dreadnoughts, each one capable of destroying a planet, fired uselessly at targets that vanished the moment his weapons powered up. How are they doing this? He screamed at his science officer. Our sensors detect them for only seconds before they disappear again. The science officer, a nervous creature with too many eyes, studied his instruments with growing fear. Admiral, they appear to be manipulating dark matter, the substance that makes up most of the universe, but cannot normally be detected or controlled. That is impossible, Kexton replied. No species has ever successfully used dark matter for anything. It passes through normal matter like it does not exist. Apparently, humans have found a way to make it exist when they want it to, sir. Meanwhile, Captain Sarah Bennett piloted her corvette, the UES Shadow, through a formation of Council cruisers. Her ship existed mostly in dark matter space, but she could phase small parts of it into normal space to fire weapons or launch torpedoes. Target the engine sections, she ordered her weapons officer. We want to disable them, not destroy them. Torpedoes away. Captain, the Council cruisers never saw the attack coming. One moment they were searching for the human ships with every sensor they had. The next moment, their engines exploded as weapons fired from an impossible angle struck their most vulnerable points. Bennett watched as the crippled alien ships drifted helplessly in space. Their crews were alive, but their vessels could no longer fight. This was the human way of war. Efficient, merciful when possible, but absolutely unstoppable. Dr. Rodriguez had spent years explaining to military commanders why dark matter manipulation would change everything. Dark matter made up 85% of all matter in the universe, but it barely interacted with normal matter at all. Learning to control, it was like learning to swim in an ocean that most species could not even see. The key insight, she had told Morrison during the early days of the project, is that dark matter is not empty space. It is a vast network that connects every part of the universe. If we can learn to navigate it, we can go anywhere instantly. If we can learn to manipulate it, we can affect normal matter in ways that seem impossible. Now, watching the Phantom Fleet tear apart Council forces with surgical precision, Morrison understood just how right she had been. The aliens had spent centuries building bigger guns and thicker armor. Humans had learned to fight from outside the normal universe itself. On his command screen, Morrison watched as reports came in from across the galaxy. Every major Council fleet was being attacked simultaneously by ships that appeared and disappeared like ghosts. The aliens had no defense against an enemy that could strike from dimensions they could not even detect. "Sir," Commander Hayes reported, "we are receiving surrender requests from 17 different Council fleets. They want to negotiate." Morrison considered this for a moment. The plan had been to demonstrate humanity's power, not to destroy every alien in the galaxy. Perhaps it was time to send a message that would end this war once and for all. "Open a channel to Council headquarters," he ordered. "It is time they learned what humanity really is." The emergency meeting of the Galactic Council began within 2 hours of the first attacks. Representatives from 47 different species gathered in their Great Hall. But this time there was no laughter or celebration. The floating platforms buzzed with panicked voices speaking in dozens of languages. High Counselor Yavin stood at the center of the hall, her crystalline body flickering with stress patterns that made her look like a broken rainbow. Military reports flooded in from across the galaxy, each one more impossible than the last. "The Third Fleet has lost 60% of its vessels," reported General Kurthak, his usual confidence replaced by confusion and fear. "The human ships appear without warning, strike with surgical precision, then vanish before we can return. Fire!" Admiral Breckenall of the Stellar Navy stepped forward, his tentacles writhing with agitation. "It is worse than that, Counselors. Our ships are not being destroyed. They are being disabled with impossible accuracy. The humans are targeting specific systems while leaving life support and emergency equipment completely untouched." "What do you mean?" Yavin asked. "They are cutting out our engines and weapons systems at the molecular level. Our hull plating is being removed in perfect sections. It is as if they can reach inside our ships and take apart whatever they choose." Dr. Yulinara floated near the center of the hall, studying data streams from battle zones across the galaxy. Her ethereal form shifted through different shades of purple as she processed information that challenged everything she thought she knew about physics. "Honored Counselors," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, "I believe I understand what the humans are doing, though it should be impossible." The hall fell silent. Every representative turned to look at the Council's chief scientist. "They have learned to manipulate dark matter," she continued, "the invisible substance that makes up most of the universe. By controlling dark matter, they can interact with normal matter at the quantum level. They can literally reach into our ships and unbind the molecular bonds that hold them together." Ambassador Zexithar, who had been so confident just hours before, stood shakily on his platform. "That cannot be possible. No species has ever successfully harnessed dark matter for practical use. No species except humans, it appears," Yulinara replied. "While we have spent centuries perfecting hyperspace travel and plasma weapons, they have discovered how to navigate and manipulate the fundamental structure of reality itself." The implications of this discovery struck the Council like a physical blow. If humans could control dark matter, they possessed technology that was centuries ahead of anything the Council had developed. They were not fighting a primitive species with crude weapons. They were fighting beings who had learned to step outside the normal universe. "How many human vessels are we facing?" asked Commander Velter, who had finally arrived from his monitoring station on the rim of Council space. "Our best estimates suggest between 2,000 and 3,000 ships," General Kurthak replied. "But the number is less important than their capabilities. Each human vessel can strike at any target in the galaxy instantly, then retreat to a dimension we cannot follow or detect. It was then that every communication system in the council chambers activated at once. Screens, speakers, and hologram. Projectors throughout the hall suddenly displayed the same image. The face of a human male appeared, middle-aged with steel-gray hair and calm brown eyes that seemed to look directly at each council member. The human wore a simple blue uniform with no decorations except a small badge that read Earth, Defense, Command. His expression was neither angry nor threatening. He looked like someone delivering a weather report. "My name is General Paul Mitchell," the human said, his voice carrying clearly through the hall's translation systems. "I am the Supreme Commander of humanity's Phantom Fleet." Murmurs of fear rippled through the assembled representatives. This was the first time any of them had seen the face of their enemy's leader. "For 3 years," Mitchell continued, "you have hunted our colonies across the galaxy. You have murdered our children and destroyed our homes. You declared humanity extinct and began celebrating our defeat. You were wrong." The general paused, letting his words sink in before continuing. "We are not the primitive species you believed you used to be. While you rested on your technological superiority, we adapted to survive. While you fought over hyperspace lanes and trade routes, we learned to navigate the dark matter web that connects all things. While you built bigger guns and thicker armor, we learned to step outside reality itself." Images began appearing on the screens around Mitchell. They showed human ships moving through space in ways that defied physics, striking council vessels with impossible precision, then vanishing as if they had never existed. "You wanted to see humanity's true nature," Mitchell said, his expression growing harder. "Here it is. We are the species that looks into the abyss and learns to make it our home. We are the children of a world that tried to kill us every day for millions of years, and we not only survived, we became stronger." The images changed to show Earth, a blue marble hanging in space surrounded by the wreckage of defensive stations. But now new ships could be seen, sleek vessels that seemed to bend light around their hulls. "Our planet taught us that the universe is not fair. It does not care about justice or mercy. The strong take what they want from the weak, and the weak must adapt or die. You made the mistake of thinking we were weak." Ambassador Dexithar found his voice. "What do you want from us?" he asked, though the question came out as more of a whisper. Mitchell's image seemed to look directly at him. "You have one standard. Data: withdraw all forces from human space and begin reparations for the colonies you destroyed. Every human life you took, every home you burned, every child you orphaned will be accounted for." The general leaned forward slightly, and for the first time, his calm expression showed a hint of the steel beneath. "If you refuse, we will demonstrate why dark matter manipulation represents an evolutionary leap your civilizations cannot comprehend. We will show you what happens when a species learns to rewrite the laws of physics themselves." The transmission did not end there. Instead, new images began appearing on every screen in the chamber. Live feeds from across the galaxy showed council military installations being systematically dismantled by invisible forces. At the hegemony's primary shipyard in the Keller system, massive orbital construction platforms were being taken apart. Piece by piece, the process looked almost gentle, like a child taking apart a toy to see how it worked, but the scale was terrifying. Structures that had taken decades to build were being reduced to component atoms in minutes. "We are not destroying your infrastructure," Mitchell explained as the council watched in horrified fascination. "We are demonstrating our ability to unmake anything you have built. Your weapons, your ships, your space stations, even your planets themselves exist only because we allow them to exist." The feed switched to show the Vortani Empire's most heavily defended fortress world. The planet's surface was covered with weapons that could crack moons and shields, that could deflect the energy of entire stars. But human ships flickered in and out of existence around the planet, carefully dismantling each defensive installation, without harming a single civilian structure. "This is not an attack," Mitchell continued. "This is an education. We could erase your fleets from existence in moments, reduce your worlds to cosmic dust, or simply delete you from the universe entirely. But we choose mercy for those wise enough to accept it." The message was clear and terrifying. Humanity possessed the power to unmake matter itself. but they were offering their enemies a chance to surrender with dignity intact. General Mitchell's final words would be remembered for centuries across the galaxy. You have 24 hours to decide. Choose wisely. The transmission ended, leaving the council chambers in absolute silence. The silence in the council chambers lasted for several long minutes. Representatives from 47 different species stared at blank screens, trying to process what they had just witnessed. High Counselor Yavin was the first to speak, her crystalline voice shaking with disbelief. "This must be some kind of trick," she said. Though her words carried no conviction, no species can possess such power. Even if they have learned to manipulate dark matter, they cannot match our combined fleets. We have millions of vessels spread across the galaxy. General Kurthak stood on his platform, his massive armored form trembling with rage and fear. "The human speaks of mercy, but this is clearly a bluff. They want us to surrender without a fight, because they know they cannot defeat us in open battle." Dr. Yulinara floated silently near the center, her ethereal form shifting through worried shades of blue and purple. She had studied the sensor readings from the attacks, and what she had seen defied every law of physics she understood. The humans were not bluffing. "Counselors," she began, but her words were cut off as every display screen in the chamber suddenly activated again. This time, there was no human face speaking to them. Instead, they saw live feeds from locations across the galaxy. The images were being broadcast from council security cameras, military observation posts, and civilian news stations. There was no way the humans could have faked what they were about to witness. The first feed showed the Vortani Empire's fortress world of Breaktal. The planet was surrounded by defense stations that could destroy entire fleets. Each station was the size of a small moon, armed with weapons that drew power directly from the system's star. The stations had never been defeated in 300 years of warfare. As the council watched, human ships began appearing around the planet. The vessels flickered in and out of existence like ghosts, moving without any visible means of propulsion. They approached the massive defense stations without triggering any alarms or defensive responses. "Why are our sensors not detecting them?" Ambassador Zexathar whispered. "Because they exist partially outside our dimension," Dr. Yulinara replied. Grimly, "Our instruments cannot track something that phases between realities." The human ships reached the first defense station and simply passed through its shields, as if they were not there. What happened next made every council member understand the true horror of humanity's power. The defense station did not explode. It did not crumble or break apart. Instead, it began to dissolve, layer by layer. The massive structure was being carefully taken apart at the molecular level. Hull plating separated into individual metal sheets, then into component atoms. Weapons systems were dismantled piece by piece, their parts sorted and organized in floating clouds of material. "They are not destroying it," General Kurthak said. In amazement, "they are disassembling it." The process was eerily beautiful and absolutely terrifying. The humans worked with surgical precision, taking apart technology that had taken decades to build. They removed weapons and shields while leaving life support systems completely untouched. Escape pods launched from the station as the crew evacuated, and the human ships made no attempt to stop them. "The crew is being allowed to leave safely," observed Commander Velter. "The humans are targeting only military equipment." The feed switched to another location, showing the hegemony's primary shipyard in the Keller system. 3 massive orbital construction platforms hung in space around a red giant star. Each platform was capable of building dreadnoughts the size of asteroids. They represented centuries of technological advancement and industrial capability. As the council watched, human ships appeared around the shipyards. The same process began immediately. The platforms were being systematically disassembled, their components separated and cataloged with impossible precision. Half-completed warships were taken apart beam by beam, their materials sorted into neat piles floating in space. "How are they doing this so quickly?" asked Admiral Breckenall, his tentacles writhing with nervous energy. Dr. Yulinara studied the readings her instruments were providing. Dark matter manipulation allows them to interact with normal matter at the quantum level. They can break and reform molecular bonds at will. What would take us years to dismantle, they can do in minutes. The demonstration continued across dozens of worlds. Council military bases, weapons manufacturing facilities, and strategic installations were being carefully taken apart by forces that could not be stopped or even properly detected. The humans worked with the patience of scientists and the efficiency of machines. But what truly shocked the Council was the restraint being shown. Civilian areas were completely untouched. Hospitals, schools, and residential districts continued operating normally while military targets were systematically removed. The humans were making a clear distinction between soldiers and innocents. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Liberty, watching the progress reports flow in from across the galaxy. His crews were performing perfectly, demonstrating humanity's capabilities without causing unnecessary casualties. Status report, Commander Hayes. He said. Lisa Hayes consulted her floating displays. All target locations are proceeding according to plan, sir. We have dismantled 137 military installations without a single civilian casualty. Enemy forces are retreating from our operational areas. Any resistance? Minimal, sir. Most Council forces are pulling back rather than engaging. The few that have tried to fight found their weapons systems disabled before they could fire. Morrison nodded. The plan was working exactly as intended. Humanity was demonstrating overwhelming superiority while showing mercy to those who did not resist. It was a careful balance between strength and restraint. On his main screen, Morrison watched as another Council fortress was peacefully disassembled. The alien crew was evacuating in orderly fashion while human ships methodically removed every weapon and defensive system. The fortress would survive, but it would never threaten anyone again. Dr. Eleanor Rodriguez approached from her science station. Captain, we are receiving communications from Council representatives on 43 worlds. They are requesting immediate ceasefire negotiations. Are they surrendering? Not officially, sir, but they are clearly frightened. Several military commanders have ordered their fleets to withdraw from human space without waiting for Council authorization. Morrison considered this information. The demonstration was having the desired effect, but humanity needed complete surrender, not just a tactical withdrawal. Continue the operation. He ordered, we show them our full capabilities now or we fight this war again in 10 years when they think they have found a way to counter our technology. Across the galaxy, the systematic dismantling continued. The humans worked with methodical precision, removing the Council's ability to wage war, while carefully preserving everything else. It was a display of power unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. In the Council chambers, the representatives watched their military might being casually erased by an enemy they had underestimated. The feeds showed human ships working alone or in small groups, each vessel capable of dismantling installations that would normally require entire fleets. To assault, we cannot fight this, Dr. Yulinara said quietly. They have evolved beyond conventional warfare. We might as well try to fight the laws of physics themselves. High Counselor Yavin looked around the chamber at faces filled with fear and confusion. Representatives who had ruled the galaxy for centuries suddenly found themselves as helpless as children. How long until the human deadline expires? She asked. 18 hours, Counselor, replied her aide. Yavin stared at the screens showing her civilization's defenses being systematically removed. The choice was becoming clear. Surrender with dignity or face complete defeat. Prepare the surrender documents. She said quietly, we cannot win a war against gods. The emergency vote took less than an hour. Representatives from 47 civilizations raised their hands, tentacles, claws, and crystalline appendages in unanimous agreement. The Galactic Council, rulers of the galaxy for 3 centuries, formally surrendered to humanity. High Counselor Yavin stood at the center of the Great Hall, her crystalline form dim with defeat. Her voice carried across all Council communication frequencies as she spoke the words that would change galactic history forever. By unanimous decision of the Galactic Council, we hereby agree to humanity's terms. All military forces will withdraw from designated human space immediately. Reparation negotiations will begin within 10 standard days. We acknowledge humanity's technological superiority and seek peaceful resolution to this conflict." The words felt strange in her mouth. For 300 years, no species had dared challenge the Council's authority. Now they were surrendering to a race they had considered primitive just days before. On the bridge of the UES Liberty, Captain Jake Morrison listened to the surrender broadcast with mixed feelings. Humanity had won, but the cost had been enormous. Millions of humans had died in the years leading up to this moment. Entire colonies had been wiped out by Council forces, who saw humans as nothing more than insects to be crushed. Sir. Commander Lisa Hayes reported, "We are receiving the official surrender from Council headquarters. All terms have been accepted." Morrison nodded slowly. "Signal the fleet. Begin withdrawal to defensive positions. The demonstration is complete." But before Morrison could give any more orders, his communication system activated again. The face of General Paul Mitchell appeared on every screen in the fleet, and his next words surprised everyone who heard them. "Thank you, counselors, for your wisdom in accepting our terms," Mitchell said, his calm voice carrying across the galaxy. "Your surrender is noted and accepted. However, we have a counter-proposal." In the Council chambers, representatives exchanged nervous glances. Counter-proposal. They had surrendered completely. What more could humanity possibly want? "The galaxy faces threats that go far beyond our current conflict," Mitchell continued. "The devourers in the galactic core consume entire star systems. The dark signal from beyond the rim grows stronger each year. The instability in the Andromeda approach vector threatens every living thing in our galaxy." Dr. Yulinara floated forward, her ethereal form brightening with sudden interest. She had studied these cosmic threats for decades, but the Council had always been focused on maintaining their power to address them properly. "Your species have grown comfortable with familiar technologies," Mitchell explained. "You have spent centuries perfecting the same weapons and the same methods of travel. But comfort breeds weakness, and weakness invites extinction." The general paused, and his expression softened slightly. "We offer you something better than conquest. We offer partnership." Dr. Elena Rodriguez appeared beside Mitchell in the transmission. Her tired eyes showed the strain of years spent pushing the boundaries of known science, but they also held hope for the future. "Humanity proposes a technological exchange," she said. "Our dark matter manipulation techniques in return for your collective scientific knowledge. From 47 different civilizations, not conquest, but cooperation." Images began appearing on the screens around the two humans. They showed joint research stations where human and alien scientists worked side by side. Mixed crews operated ships that combined the best technologies from multiple species. Laboratories studied phenomena that no single civilization could understand alone. "The universe is vast and full of mysteries we have barely begun to explore." Rodriguez continued, "Dark matter manipulation is just the beginning. There are 11 dimensions we have not entered, energy forms we have not harnessed, and life forms we have not yet imagined." General Mitchell stepped forward again, his voice growing stronger with conviction. "We did not develop the Phantom Fleet to conquer you. We developed it to survive your attacks. Now that our survival is assured, let us see what we can build together." Ambassador Zexathar, who had been silent since the surrender, finally found his voice. "Why would you offer this to us? We destroyed your colonies. We killed your people. By all rights, you should want revenge." Mitchell looked directly at him through the transmission. "Because revenge is a luxury we cannot afford. The threats facing this galaxy require the combined knowledge and resources of every intelligent species alone. We might survive for a few more centuries. Together, we might thrive for millions of years." The general's final words carried the weight of absolute certainty. "This is humanity's true message to the galaxy. We are not your exterminators. We are not your conquerors. We are the species that turns obstacles into opportunities, enemies into friends, and the impossible into inevitable." He gestured to the images still floating around him, showing humans and aliens working together on projects that neither could accomplish alone. "The question is not whether you can defeat us. We have already proven that battle is over. The question is whether you are wise enough to join us in building something greater than any of our species could create alone." The transmission showed one final image. It was a massive space station under construction in the void between galaxies. The structure was enormous, easily the size of a small moon, and it incorporated design elements from dozens of different civilizations. Human dark matter manipulation technology worked alongside Council hyperspace generators and alien energy systems that defied easy description. "This is the future we offer," Mitchell said, "a galaxy united not by conquest, but by common purpose, a civilization that combines the best of all our species to face whatever challenges the universe presents." The transmission ended, leaving the Council chambers in thoughtful silence. This time, the quiet was not filled with fear or defeat, but with possibility. High Counselor Yavin looked around the hall at representatives who had spent their lives believing they knew the limits of what was possible. The humans had shown them technologies that broke the laws of physics, but more importantly, they had shown wisdom that broke the cycles of war and conquest that had defined galactic politics for millennia. "Perhaps," she said quietly, her crystalline voice carrying new hope, "it is time we learned what impossible really means." Dr. Yulanara was the first to respond. "I motion for immediate acceptance of humanity's proposal. We have spent too long fighting over resources when we should have been exploring the infinite possibilities the universe offers." One by one, other representatives began voicing their agreement. Species that had been enemies for centuries suddenly found themselves considering cooperation on a scale never before imagined. The vote for technological alliance was unanimous. 6 months later, Captain Jake Morrison stood in the observation deck of the first Joint Human Council Research Station. The facility existed partially in dark matter space, allowing researchers to study the fundamental forces that shaped reality itself. Beside him stood Commander Zikaval of the Vortani Empire, the same species that had led the attack on human colonies. Now they worked together, pushing the boundaries of science beyond what either species could achieve alone. "Your people continue to surprise us," Zikaval admitted, his blue skin rippling with what Morrison had learned was his species' expression of respect. "We expected conquest and revenge. Instead, you offered evolution." Morrison smiled, watching human and alien scientists collaborate on experiments that would have been impossible just months before. "That is humanity for you," he replied. "We do not just adapt to the universe. We convince the universe to adapt to us." Around them, the galaxy was changing. The age of conquest was ending, replaced by an age of discovery that would reshape everything. They thought they knew about what was possible, and in the depths of space, the Phantom Fleet maintained its vigilant watch, protecting not just humanity, but all the civilizations that had chosen cooperation over conflict. The dark matter web that connected all things had become humanity's gift to the galaxy.